Those of you who were here Wednesday heard us discuss how reality is unfortunately not much in demand. Today we're going to discuss more of how that reality is not much in demand, how does that affect you? Naturally, you want the best for your life. What does it mean, the best for your life? What does it mean, success for you? Well, naturally, you'd like to see an increase in the things that you have. Naturally, you'd like to see an increase in emotional fulfillment that you feel. Naturally, you'd like some respect and prestige, at least amongst some people, not everyone. You'd like to be known for something in this world, no matter what it is. And certainly you'd like to do a little bit of good for others. Not too much, of course, but just a little bit of good for others. Enough that you can feel that you're a good person and others will look upon you as a good person. Reality is not much in demand. Wednesday we spoke about 3 key areas of illusion, which are so precious in the matrix of illusion. Those three key areas of illusion are, number 1, you have an overly inflated conception of yourself. You think more nicely of yourself than others think of you. And you think lesser of others. So that combination of how you feel about others and how you feel about yourself combines to make you have an overestimation of yourself, your value, your worth. Key area of illusion, number 2, is that you imagine you have more control over your life situation than you actually do. You justify or you imagine your control based on consumer choices. Choices of television channels. Choices of clothes. Because you can choose between various consumer items, you imagine that you have an enormous scope for freedom. And key area of illusion number 3 is that you have an overly optimistic vision of your future. Some or other things are going to be all right. Some or other you're going to get most of what you want someday. It's impossible to live material life without these key areas of illusion. We discussed Wednesday about how material life is built on a network of false hopes. In Bhagavad Gita, Krishna explains that principle very succinctly. In Sanskrit, Asha Pasha Kshatar Pada. We are bound by a network of false hopes. Just like a fish is caught in a fish net and bound by the networks of the fish net. Similarly, we're shackled in the matrix of illusion by our hopes and expectations that we will be satisfied to a good degree in our attempts to achieve temporary happiness in the temporary world. Now, who told us that this was going to work out like that? Try to think now. It's not possible for you to identify that person, but try to think of the first person who told you you're going to be happy in this world. Who might that have been? Maybe mother, maybe a school teacher, maybe your little friends, but somehow or other, you got the idea in your head that this world is meant for your satisfaction. Maybe it was just by watching television as a little child. But somehow or other, from a young age, you were taken over by this hallucination. And you spend the rest of your life chasing this dream. Why do we buy into this? Well, it's quite obvious. Everyone else, practically speaking, is doing it. Why not you? In other words, why be different? Why try to march to a different drummer? What's in it for you to go against the system? What's in it for you to go at things a different way? To be so different that you drop out of the illusion, drop out of the matrix of illusion, that seems very uninviting. Things look cold and bleak, empty. What would my life be without positive illusions? What are positive illusions? Illusions we feel are good for us to have. And in fact, there's no need to analyze those illusions or think about them deeply because, well, everyone needs a fair bit of illusion in their life. And that illusion has good value. You think of yourself in an upbeat way. Yes, I'm pretty good, yeah. You present yourself to others in an upbeat way. I can do the job, no worries. You feel you have control. I'm in good shape. My environment, my circumstances are all mostly according to my choice. And my future looks all right. How can you push on in material life without these key areas of illusion? If we actually analyze these illusions, we realize that I have no powerful reason to lift my head off the pillow in the morning. Maybe some of you have allowed that reality to hit you. One morning, when you opened your eyes, you just thought to yourself, what real reason do I have to lift my head off the pillow? What am I trying to accomplish? What's this race all about anyway? What am I pursuing? Yes, some of you sometimes have felt that way. What is so different, really, about today from yesterday? And how will tomorrow really be any different from today? What am I after? I'm after gratifying my senses, making my mind feel some kind of peace, getting some kind of emotional fulfillment, getting some kind of buzz. That's what I'm after. And of course, I don't mind helping a few people if I can, but mainly, even in my relationships, I'm in it for me. Of course, though, what is the me? No one has any time or training to pursue that question. In order to deal with reality, we need a completely different culture. A culture that sponsors the asking of deep questions from the very beginning of life. Not a culture that has the mass weapons of distraction to bewilder you in such a way that you never ask important questions. You always set those questions aside. You can just see yourself setting the crucial questions of life aside. Not now, not now, not now. I'll think about that in the future. Maybe when I'm in my 60s or 70s, that's when I'll think about it, but not now. Why not now? Well, first of all, I have to enjoy my senses. Why? Because everyone's doing like that, and my body is demanding it. What's wrong with doing something that everyone else is doing and also that your body demands? Isn't that natural? Secondly, I don't know any other way of acting. So my ignorance combines with my conformity to prevent my asking any essential questions. It's very strange indeed. It's very rare to ask such questions, to think about such questions. In fact, reality is very interesting. That in order to actually deal with deep questions about who you are, what are you anyway, and what is your purpose in life, you have to come to a special place to do that. Whereas the opposite should be true in a real human society. All the time you should be surrounded in a real human society with stimulation to deal with the ultimate questions in life, and then sometimes you can take a break from that. Instead, we have the opposite, that all the time you're surrounded by massed weapons of distraction, so that we're ignorant, we're blind, we're in the dark, and sometimes, on some special occasions, we'll go to a place like this and, well, what's reality about anyway? So that interest in reality becomes the exception to the rule. Whereas the opposite should be true. We should be constantly dealing with the essential questions of life, and sometimes we take a break from that. Now you may say, look, there's a lot we don't know. There's a lot we need to know that we don't know. We admit that we're in the matrix of illusion, but meanwhile, while we're in illusion, aren't we doing good for others? Have you ever asked someone that question? Am I doing good for you? Am I good to you? You'd like to feel that you're a good person, right? You will tell yourself you're not the best, but you're not the worst either, right? Certainly everyone here would like to feel that you're basically okay. You're not the greatest saint, but you're not the worst sinner. I'm going to use those words. And there are at least a few persons that you have good value for. Let's see, I can think of one, two, I can think of a few persons who really think I'm good. And I have good value for them. Let's see, at least one of my parents really cared for me. That's a good start. And I have a sister or a brother who still recognizes me. Okay. I've got a couple of friends who I see face to face. I've got a few hundred Facebook friends who I never see, but anyway, you get the thumbs up. So in this way, we kind of feel that we're doing good for others. No one wants to feel like you're completely selfish, right? While pursuing selfish goals, you want to feel that you're also charitable. You want to feel that you care for others. While mostly we pursue our own agenda for pleasing ourselves. Because after all, everyone else is doing that. Isn't that what the world's all about? But I know the kind of persons who come here, they're generally a bit different. From time to time, of course, we do get the 100% dedicated hedonists who are fully on the hedonistic treadmill. That they come here, of course, means they're actually special hedonists. But mostly, we get here persons who are caring for others, for the environment, for the betterment and well-being of others. And then, for such better persons to hear things like, we're all an illusion, that can be a bit of a shock. What do you mean I'm completely an illusion? I do good things for others. I do good deeds as much as I can. What do you want out of me? I'm not the richest person. I don't have the greatest resources at my disposal, but I care. But this could be a mass illusion, a mass consensual trance. What is that? A mass consensual trance is when a huge segment of the population, if not almost the whole population, together buys into something without questioning and lives according to that illusion. This is a mass consensual trance. Let's all agree to be an illusion together. Often what people call society, friendship, and love is about this mass consensual trance in which a huge segment of the population, practically almost all the population, agrees. Look, we're not going to inquire deeply. We're not going to try to understand what the self really is and what the self is part of. We're just going to try to do good to one another. In other words, according to our lack of knowledge and understanding about what the self is, we're still going to try to do good for the self. And you agree to participate in this conspiracy, I agree, and everyone who calls themselves our friends and relatives, and we all agree, let's buy in. And no one knows, but still we can do good for each other. What do you think? I don't know what I am, you don't know what you are, but we're going to care for each other, and we are going to love. In other words, let us walk together in a world of fantasy. You can share my world of fantasy. I will share your world of fantasy. And this is what we call love. I have no idea what I am. Am I material? Am I non-material? You don't have any idea what you are, material or non-material. We don't know what is our ultimate source, but we have the moment. That's the important thing. Let us care for each other for the moment. Let us maximize the use of our ignorance. And truly be of benefit to each other. I often quote a statement by a Nobel Prize-winning French philosopher, Albert Camus, who made a mantra for this kind of living. He said, "Don't try to lead me, don't try to follow me, just walk together with me through the chaos." So this is creative self-deception. I don't know anything about who I really am. You don't know anything about who you really are. That's okay. And don't you try to teach me anything. Don't try to follow me. But together, in our illusion, we'll walk together through the chaos, and we'll see what happens. That's considered love in so many circles, in so many places. Companionship for the moment, even though that moment is full of ignorance. The ancient yoga texts, particularly the Krishna texts of ancient India, point out the fallacy in our attempts to do good for others without having any knowledge. How can you actually love someone if you don't know what is that person? Because if we don't know what is that person, we won't know what's the best thing for that person. So just think. You can squeeze someone and squeeze someone and squeeze them as tight as you can, whispering into their ear repeatedly how much you love them. And you squeeze and you whisper and you squeeze and you whisper. But have you been in contact with the real person? Now you might say, well, okay, The real person is not the body, is not material. But still, doesn't that person feel better if you squeeze and whisper and squeeze and whisper? Even though the person is non-material, it seems that somehow or other, by squeezing the material and whispering to the material, the person feels better, even though actually the person is non-material. This is the creative power of illusion. That, by the grace of the illusory energy, which in Bhagavad Gita, the prime yoga text, Krishna claims as his own. Indeed, in Bhagavad Gita, the prime yoga text, Krishna says that there's an energy of illusion that's deceiving everyone. This matrix of illusion is an energy, and Krishna says it comes from him. And he further explains that unless you adopt his spiritual technology and do things his way, his process, it's impossible for you to overcome this matrix of illusion. So Krishna, who claims that illusory energy as his own, is saying, look, I know you can't beat the system. The system comes from me. You have to be deceived. You have to be an illusion. You have to dwell in the world of fantasy. The energy is too powerful and you're too tiny. A great way to begin to enter reality, a great way for us to do that, is to truly understand how tiny we are. The yoga texts describe that if you want to understand the size of the real you, the non-material entity, non-material unit of spiritual consciousness, roughly speaking, it's 1/10,000th the tip of a hair. Yet that tiniest of particle, 1/10,000th the tip of a hair, approximately, can power a huge material body. Not simply the body of a human being, but even the body of a cow, a bull, an elephant, or a rhinoceros. That's how powerful the tiny spirit soul is. Yet, because we're so tiny, even though we're spiritual, we can come under the influence of Krishna's matrix of illusion. And why would that happen to us? Why would Krishna, the all-attractive, unlimited reservoir of pleasure, why would he allow us, his parts, to fall into illusion? Because we have choice. In order for there to be pure love between the parts of the Supreme and the Supreme, the parts have to have a choice. As you saw in the beginning of the drama, there was a choice. What do you want? I want to be famous. I want to be an actor. I want this. I want that. There can't be any love, which is the real purpose of yoga, the love supreme. There can't be that love between the part of the Supreme and the Supreme unless the part has choice. Choice means you can make a mistake. You can choose rightly or wrongly. So when we choose to live a life and try to enjoy separate from Krishna, separate from the ultimate reality, then we're in illusion. And blanketed by illusion, we don't have very much impetus or enthusiasm to question. We're satisfied to a superficial degree. Yeah, I'm all right. You're all right too, aren't you? Yeah, sometimes I do think about what's my purpose and who am I. Sometimes I do think about that. But you know, you just got to get on with life. Right? And everyone just slaps on the back. That's right. We just got to get on with it. So this place here is for the rebels. Those who want to truly love That means those who understand that real love is based on knowledge. Because how, in ignorance, can you actually care for someone when you don't know who is that person and what is the best way to care for that person? Love requires knowledge. How many of you, I often ask this question, would allow, if you had some critical medical situation and you needed some surgery, would you allow just anyone to operate on you? Someone comes up to you on the street, "Oh, I heard you have a critical medical problem. I really feel in my heart for you. I'd like to care for you. I'd like to operate on you." What would you say?